Don't be pushed around by fears in your mind. Be led by dreams in your heart. Good morning, student. Welcome to a very fine morning. Hope so. All are safe and healthy. So, today we'll be starting up with Political Science, Chapter 2, that is India's Foreign Policy. In this chapter, we'll be dealing with the India's foreign policy, meaning and importance, objectives, national interest, and foreign policy, and many more. So, today in this video, we'll be dealing with introduction, meaning, and importance of foreign policy. Introduction. We have got introduced to the international system and its nature and the Cold War in the last century and its effects. We shall now get introduced to other related issues. Thus, we shall learn about meaning of foreign policy, factors that make an impact on it, and the nature of India's foreign policy. From the time India first attained independence in 1947, its foreign policy during the Cold War period evolved from being pro Soviet and antithetical to Western interest to now becoming an important Western strategic partner are providing a counterweight to China. Over the last 6.5 decades, India has massively expanded its influence worldwide, primarily through diplomacy and trade, which has been its emerge as an influential power in global politics. There are many aspects that played important role in determining India's foreign policy over a period of time. Meaning and importance of foreign policy, children. All countries are members of international system. We have already studied that none of this country is completely self-reliant and hence there is mutual interdependence in the international system. Only this interdependence should not be benefit to few countries. Efforts need to be made to ensure that it benefits every nation. Each country has to decide the nations with which it should be friendly, in which bloc it should participate, or what position it should take in international relations. Such decisions should be made thoughtfully. The theoretical framework in which such decisions are taken is called foreign policy. Every sovereign and independent country decides its own foreign policy. Hence, in the discipline of international politics, which studies the international relations between nations, foreign policy has an important place. So, children, in this video, we have discussed about introduction, meaning, and importance of foreign policy. In the next video, we'll be dealing with national interest and foreign policy. Till the time, children, continue with your eye exercise before starting up with the next video. Courage is something you should never lose. Good morning, student. Welcome back to today's next video. In the last video, we have seen about introduction, meaning, and importance of foreign policy. In this video, we'll be dealing with national interest and foreign policy. National interest. The interest of a nation as a whole, held to be an independent entity, separate from the interest of subordinate areas or groups, and also of another nation or supranations. Groups any foreign policy which operates under the standard of national interest. We have briefly understood what foreign policy means. National interest and foreign policy are closely connected to each other. National interest is fostered through foreign policy. Therefore, before studying foreign policy, further we need to understand the meaning and significance of national interest. National interest implies the means through which the independence and sovereignty of our country can be safeguarded. National interests also include efforts to achieve our economic development and to take steps towards increasing our national power. When decisions are taken after giving a careful thought to what is beneficial and good for our country, we say that we are nurturing our national interest. In this sense, the following factors are included in the national interest of our country: defense, the protection of our country's independence, sovereignty, and integrity is the highest national interest. Economic development is also an important national interest. An economically weak nation will not be able to maintain its independence. Hence, economic development is understood to be an important national interest, next only to defense. National interest and foreign policy. Foreign policy is drawn up to foster the national interest, to defense and economic development. National interest is considered to be the goal, and foreign policy is considered to be the means to achieve it. Goals of nation change with change in conditions and time. Accordingly, national interest also changes. These changes are reflected in the foreign policy. Therefore, foreign policy is always dynamic. So, children, in this video, we have discussed about and national interest and foreign policy. In the next video, we'll be dealing with factors influencing foreign policy. Take risks in your life. If you win, you can lead. If you lose, you can guide. Good morning, students. Welcome to today's video. So, we have already started up with Political Science Chapter 2, that is India's Foreign Policy. In the last video, children, we have discussed about national interest and foreign policy. Let's have some information on factors influencing foreign policy. Foreign policy of any country is shaped of multiple internal and external factors. The major internal factors that influence the foreign policy are geographical location, political system, economy, national leadership, and administrative factors. Now let's see about factors influencing foreign policy. Foreign policy decides what kind of relations to have with which country in the international system. Several factors affect foreign policy. First, we'll see about geographical locations. You must have seen the globe or map of the world. You can see the geographical location of any nation from that. Some countries are far away from other countries, while there are several neighboring countries around some countries. Some nations have a long coastline, while some have plenty of mineral wealth. In some, the size, population, topography, coastline, availability of natural resources, all these factors need to be considered while deciding the foreign policy of a country. Political system. In a democratic political system, the nation's parliament plays a major role in evolving foreign policy. When different aspects come up for discussion in parliament, the opposition parties try to regulate the foreign policy by raising questions about the same. Federal political system have to take into account the inclinations of constituent states while shaping foreign policy because the affairs in neighboring nations affect constituent states. For example, event in Sri Lanka may lead affect Tamil Nadu and those in Bangladesh may affect West Bengal and the northeast Indian states. Economy. In modern times, the economic condition of any country has acquired great importance in deciding foreign policy. As a result, the economy impacts foreign policy in two ways. Foreign policy is shaped by the need to establish economic relations with other countries, import export participation in the world trade, all aimed at strengthening the economy of the country. In today's world, the issue of economic security are as important as national security. A country is recognized to be powerful in the proportion to the economic security it enjoys. Countries having a strong economy are less dependent on others and they can have an independent foreign policy as well. So in this video, we have dealt with factors influencing foreign policy. In that we have seen geographical location, political system and economy. In the next video, we'll be dealing with national leadership and administrative factors. Children, continue with your eye exercise before starting up with the next video. Not all of us can do great things, but we can do small things with great love. Good morning, student. Welcome to today's video. We have already started up with Political Science Chapter 2, that is India's foreign policy. So, in the last video, we have discussed about the factors influencing foreign policy, geographical location, political system, and economy. In this video, children will be dealing with national leadership and administrative factors. Now, let's see about national leadership. Much depends on the national leader who formulates the foreign policy of the country. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru contributed the policy of non-alignment to India's foreign policy. Next is administrative factors. Ministers of External Affairs, Foreign Secretary, ambassadors in other countries, and diplomatic officers are the administrative factors involved in formulating foreign policies. Let's have in detail information on national leadership. The President, the Prime Minister, the Foreign Minister, the Defense Minister, the Finance Minister, and the Home Minister have a role in deciding foreign policy. Persons holding this situation try to maintain the continuity in foreign policy and to improve upon it. For example, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru contributed the policy of non-alignment to India's foreign policy. Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee contributed a great deal to improving Sino-Indian relations. Let's have information now on administrative factors, children. Minister of External Affairs, Foreign Secretary, embassies in different countries, diplomatic officers, etc., are administrative factors involved in creating foreign policies. Even though the final decisions about foreign policies are taken by Prime Minister and the Minister for External Affairs, the administrative machinery help to arrive at that decision. The administrative officers collect information needed to shape the foreign policy, analyze it, and give appropriate advice based on it. The National Security Advisor also completes this task. So, children, in this video, we have discussed about national leadership and administrative factors that are the factors influencing foreign policy. In the next video, we'll be dealing with India's foreign policy and objectives of India's foreign policy. Till the time, children, continue with your eye exercise before starting up with the next video. Kind words can be short and easy to speak, but their echoes are truly endless. Good morning, student. Welcome to a very fine morning. Hope so. All are safe and healthy. We have already started up with Political Science, Chapter 2, India's Foreign Policy. In the last video, we have seen about factors influencing foreign policy, in that national leadership and administrative factors. In this video, we'll be dealing with India's foreign policy. Now let's have some detailed information about India's foreign policy. The execution of this policy involves deepening political, socio-cultural, and trade and defense ties between countries, as well as participating in multilateral forums, involves many countries. India's foreign policy is fundamentally based on the principles of peaceful coexistence, friendship, and cooperation among all the countries of the world, irrespective of their political system. We'll be seeing also about objectives of India's foreign policy in this video. India's foreign policy. After taking this preliminary information about foreign policy, we shall now get to know about India's foreign policy. India got independence in 1947, and from then onwards, we started shaping our foreign policy independently. The directive principles of state policy have laid down guidelines about how to shape foreign policy. Article 51 among Directive Principle of State Policy lay down the broad framework for foreign policy. According to it, India should give priority to safeguard international peace and security and resolve our international problems and disputes by peaceful means. The objectives of foreign policy should be maintained friendly relations with other nations and respect international law. India's foreign policy till now has been developed in this framework. Article 51 will see that now, children. According to Article 51 of Indian Constitution, we should promote international peace and security, maintain just a honorable relation between nations, foster respect for international law and treaty obligation in the dealings of organized people with one another, encourage settlements of international disputes by arbitration. Objectives of India's foreign policy. While maintaining friendly relations with neighboring countries, ensure that the defense and security of India is not affected, not to compromise about the geographical boundaries of the nation, protect the unity and integrity of the country, protect the interests of Indian citizens living in other countries. This responsibility is fulfilled by the Indian embassies there to establish economic and commercial relations with other countries for achieving economic development of country. So children, in this video we have discussed about India's foreign policy and objectives of India's foreign policy. In the next video, we'll be dealing with India's foreign policy early phase. Continue with your eye exercise before starting up with the next video. Intense love does not measure, it just gives. Good morning, student. Welcome to today's next video. We have already started up with Political Science, Chapter 2, India's Foreign Policy. In the last video, we have discussed about India's foreign policy and objectives of India's foreign policy. In this video, children, we'll be starting up with India's foreign policy early phase. Let's have some information on the first phase, that is from 1947 to 1962. This period is marked with the setting of bipolar world with camps led by United States and USSR. India's objective in this phase were to resist dilution of its sovereignty, rebuild its economy and consolidate its integrity. India's foreign policy. Let's have some more information on this. Prime Minister Pandit Nehru shaped India's foreign policy in the early period. He opposed colonialism. Through India's foreign policy, he took an internationalist position and gave priority to global peace and security. Three things influenced India's foreign policy in this period. We made an effort to understand all international events and development independently, without any pressure from any power. Peace has always been a central feature of India's foreign policy. The threat from China and Pakistan were also taken into consideration. One more feature of India's foreign policy at this time was insistence of self-reliance. In the beginning, India decided to improve relations with countries in Asia. Efforts were taken to cooperate with Asian countries in order to achieve development and to keep our independence intact. This concept of regional development later expanded to include countries partitioned in the military pacts led either by America or Soviet Union. This stopped the process of regional development. After this, countries of Asia and Africa which did not participate in this military pact supported the concept of non-alignment. Peace and freedom became fundamental principles of non-aligned policy. In this period, India had to face conflict with neighboring countries. War happened between India and Pakistan over the Kashmir question in 1947, 48, and 1965. In the Third World War, in the Third War that happened in 1971, Pakistan broke apart and independent Bangladesh was created. In the decade of 1970s, there came about some stability in India's foreign policy. India had risen as a powerful regional power in South Asia by conducting nuclear tests in 1974. India had also proved her nuclear capability. From 1980, however, some changes began to take place. in order to increase cooperation among South Asian countries. South Asian Association for Regional Countries, that is SAARC, was established. India initiated a dialogue to improve relations with China, and India also started up interaction with America for cooperation in the field of security. So in this video children, we have discussed about the India's foreign policy early phase, or we can say first stage. In the next video, we'll be dealing with first stage, that is 1947 to 1990. Continue with your eye exercise children and then start up with the next video. Joy is a net of life by which you can catch soul. Good morning student. Welcome to a fine morning. We have already started up with Political Science Chapter 2, that is India's Foreign Policy. And now, children, we are towards the end of this chapter. In the last video, we have discussed about India's foreign policy early phase. In this video, we'll be dealing with first stage, that is 1947 to 1990. Let's have information on first stage, that is 1947 to 1990. India adopted the policy of non-alignment in the context of the Cold War. As a result, priority was given to maintaining friendly relations with all nations and to taking the help required for development from different countries. Due to the policy of non-alignment, India could get aid from both the superpower. There was a lot of stress on improving strengthening India's defense. The technology required for this was imported. Soviet Union, France and Germany helped India in this matter. So it was about the non-aligned movement children and the relationship between the other countries, and we should maintain friendly relation with all the nations. So this was related to our foreign policy first stage, that is 1947 to 1990. Further we'll see in this period, India had to face some challenges. This include the conflict with Pakistan and creation of Bangladesh and conflict with China. So this was the time period children from 47 to 1990 we had faced a lot of problems, and this was the time period when we saw there was a war between India Pakistan and there was a creation of Bangladesh, then there were conflicts with China too. India proved her nuclear capability by conducting nuclear tests in 1974 children. So we are towards the end of this video children now. We have seen in this video about the first stage 1947 to 1990. In the next video we'll be dealing with second stage, that is 1991 till date, till today's date. So children, continue with your eye exercise before starting up with the next video. Have a good day children. We fear the future because we are wasting today. Good morning student. Welcome to today's video. We have already started up with Political Science, Chapter 2, India's Foreign Policy. And today, now we are towards the end of this chapter children. We have already seen first stage, that is 1947 to 1990 in the last video. In this video, we will be dealing with second stage 1991 till date. Second stage. India's foreign policy became more comprehensive and dynamic in the second stage. In the post-Cold War period, the priority no longer remained to political and military relations. Several other dimensions like economy, trade, education, and technology got included in foreign policy. After 1991, India reduced the government controls over the economy and adopted the free market policy. Naturally, there was an increase in trade with neighboring countries. Our share in world trade increased. Efforts began to be made to increase rate of economic growth. In the decades after 1990, our relations with South Asian countries like Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, etc. became stronger. Our trade exchange with Israel, Japan, China, and European Union increased. India began to participate in organizations at the international and regional level more than before. For example, G20 and BRICS. Our relations with America strengthened. Mutual trust grew. India's status rose in international community. India's nuclear policy is an important part of India's foreign policy. You must have studied the meaning of nuclear energy and its uses in subjects like history, geography, or chemistry. Having understood the importance of nuclear power, India undertook the nuclear energy program immediately after independence. For this, we established the Department of Atomic Energy and Indian Atomic Energy Commission. The first chairman of Indian Atomic Energy Commission was Dr. Homi Bhabha. Even through electricity generation was the main purpose behind this program. It also aimed at creating military capability. As a consequence of this, India conducted her first nuclear test in 1974. India built nuclear weapon and conducted nuclear tests in 1988. We have also made missiles carrying carrying nuclear weapons and the air force and the navy has been enabled for carrying them. India is now a country which has nuclear weapons. We have accepted the role of responsible nuclear power. India has been consistently supporting efforts for disarmament because it is India's position that there should be peace and security in the world. So, in this video, children, we have taken a survey of second stage 1991 till date. Next video will be dealing with India's defense system. Children, continue with your eye exercise before starting up with the next video.